evening, everyone. Welcome to Expert Series Talk of Navkar. Today, we are going to talk about the economics of finance paper into your CA intermediate. Myself, Siddharth Shah, a qualified chartered accountant as well as a company secretary, and I am a SEBI registered investment advisor too. With Navkar, I have been associated myself for the subject of BCK into CA Foundation, this subject of economics of finance for CA intermediate, and for the FSCM elective paper for CA final. Today with us, we have a respected and renowned faculty, Dr. S.S. Deshpande, having experience of more than 20 years in this field, a senior faculty into economics. And today we are going to talk with him about this paper. We hope you enjoy the session and learn a lot out of the subject. And let us now welcome with warm hands, Mr. Deshpande. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, we would like to know a bit about the subject, the basic about the economics of finance subject of this CA intermediate. Can you throw a light over it?
Yes. We just use one small presentation. Okay.
We would be happy to have it, sir.
Yeah. So this is the basic introduction of the paper. The full name of the paper is Financial Management and Economics for Finance. This is the 8th paper of the syllabus, and it falls in the second group of CA intermediate syllabus. The total marks are 100. FM carries a weightage of 60%, whereas remaining 40% is the weightage of economics for finance. And this entire paper is descriptive. That means students will not have any multiple choice questions in this entire paper. So this is the basic introduction of the paper, sir.
Done. That was great knowing about it, sir. Can you also say the major name of the chapters and the basic details about the chapters too?
Right. So basically, there are 4 chapters in economics, and ICAI has not specified any particular weightage or any particular topic or chapter. But
okay.
If you look at the past papers, you will realize that almost all the chapters carry more or less the same weightage. So there are 4 chapters. These are the 4 chapters. The first is determination of national income, and this chapter has got 2 units. Then we have the second chapter, public finance, and this chapter has got 4 units. The third one is called money market, and there are 3 units in that. And finally, the 4th chapter is international trade, and this chapter has got 5 units. Now, instead of believing that there are 4 chapters, I would suggest the students to feel that there are 14 units, because one unit itself is like a chapter. So instead of confining yourself to 4 chapters, you should perceive the syllabus as 14 units. So this is basically the chapter structure and the units therein.
That was very good to know, sir, that students must understand that they shouldn't take it lightly by knowing it as 4 chapters. One must understand that it is subdivided into 14, and that should be their target. That was good to know. Sir, can you also give us some detail about the internal chapter units so that the students could get it more clear what the things are covered into each unit and how they should carry?
Yes. Now see, as far as the first chapter, determination of national income, is concerned, there are 2 units. The first is national income accounting, whereas the second unit is called the Keynesian theory of determination of national income. In the second chapter is public finance. The first unit is fiscal functions and overview. The second unit is called market failure. Third is government intervention to correct the market failure. And the 4th unit is fiscal policy. In the 3rd chapter, there are 3 units. Money market is the name of the chapter. The first unit is the concept of money demand, the important theories. The second unit is called the concept of money supply. And the third one is called monetary policy. And finally, the 4th chapter is international trade. And in this chapter, there are 5 units, as I mentioned. The first is theories of international trade. The second is the instruments of trade policy. The third is trade negotiations. Number 4 is exchange rate and its economic effects. And finally, international capital movements. So these are the units in the 4 chapters.
That was very informative, sir. That would be very useful to students also. Sir, can you give us some guide about the paper style, how the papers are formed, so that at least up to my knowledge, most of the students are not aware about it. They would be, say, having a very helping hand from your end if you could throw some light over it.
Yes. Now, understanding the paper style is really very important. If the students have internalized the paper style, then their preparation will be well directed and it will be more precise. So,
True, sir.
this is the paper style. Uh, First six questions are from FM, that is financial management. Then from question number 7 to question number 11, they will get questions from economics for finance. Now, everybody should remember that the seventh question is compulsory. This is the first question in economics, and in the entire paper, this is the seventh question. And it is compulsory. There are four parts in this question: A, B, C, D. And if you observe the past papers, you will realize that all the four chapters are covered in this compulsory answer. For example, part A comes from chapter number 1, B comes from chapter number 2, C is from 3, and D is from 4. So this seventh question is compulsory for the students. And out of the remaining four questions, that is from question number 8, 9, 10, and 11, students have to select any three. And in each of them, there will be 3 to 4 parts. And each answer carries 10 marks each. So 10 marks for the seventh answer, and then any three, remaining 30 marks for that. So that makes the 40-mark paper of economics. There is another very important information which students should have. 90% of their paper is in the form of short questions. This means that 90% questions are of 2 to 3 marks. Now, this is a very important information for the students because they should know that they are not required to write very long, winding answers. Their answers have to be very crisp and to the point because the weightage itself is very limited. There will be one question which carries 5 marks, and not necessarily, but generally, this is a numerical from chapter number 1 or chapter number 4. So this is basically the paper style, sir.
That was great. So basically, students are mostly, maybe if at all they are aware about, they are just aware about that there are this number of questions. These are compulsory. But reading about the history, it is good to know that 90% weightage is coming just from for 2 or 3 marks. So they should focus on that part too. That was very informative, sir. Can you, sir, share some insights of your talking about the major methods, or say kind of the way of approach for the preparation a student should follow? Can you just give some guidance over it?
Yes. See, this is how the students should prepare this entire paper. First things first, very simple, attend the lectures very carefully. So whenever the students are attending the lecture, they should attend the lecture with lot of focus and they should try to understand. Wherever there is a doubt in the class itself, they can ask the teacher. Sometimes what happens is that after attending the lecture, there will be a gap of around 10 to 15 days when they prepare the same chapter on their own. So it is quite possible that they might have forgotten some of the points which were discussed during the class. So the best way is to watch the videos from the NDI application. So Navkar Institute is providing all the videos. Okay, so they can just fast. They can have a look at all the videos, and then they should read the PDFs and the PPTs which are given to them by their teachers, followed by the Navkar material. These PDFs and PPTs which are created by the teachers for the students are in much simple and easy language. So instead of directly trying to read the ICI module, I feel that if they read these PDFs and PPTs, they will find it easier. And then there is the Navkar spiral which is given to them. I think they should read that. Next is solve the exercises from ICAI module, especially two categories. The first is short answers and second is application oriented questions. Now, these are the two parts from where maximum questions are asked in the exam. After you do that, the next task should be to solve all the past ICAI papers. See, I will say this very clearly. If you do not perform these two steps, every student should have solved all the exercises from the ICI module, especially the short answers and the application oriented answers. Okay. And similarly, they must solve all the past ICI papers. आप ये दो चीजें किए बिना एग्जाम में जाते हो और आपके कम मार्क्स आते हैं तो you have nothing, you can't blame anyone else, you have to blame yourself. If you do these two things, if you solve all the short answers from the ICAI module and application oriented questions, and then you solve all the past ICI papers, I think your preparation will be very good. So most of the questions are asked very frequently, and you've done this, your preparation should be considered really very good. And I will also suggest the students to draw diagrams in the answer. See, they will not ask you directly to draw the diagram. They're not going to tell you that explain this concept with the help of the diagram. Sometimes they may do, but sometimes they may not tell you. So you have to always search for an opportunity to draw the diagram. So if you think that this concept can be explained with the help of a diagram, okay, immediately you should draw the diagram. It will help you in getting much better marks. So never miss an opportunity to draw the diagram if at all the diagram is there in that particular concept or answer. So I think these are certain things which students should keep in mind. Okay. The last 3 points are really very important. Okay. There are MCQs which are given in the book. You can skip that because MCQs are not there in the examination. They are just for practice. They will improve your understanding. Similarly, there are long answers, but then we don't have long answers in the exam. So ICAI has given us short answers, long answers, application oriented answers, and the MCQs. So what I'm saying is that even if you don't do the MCQs, even if you don't study the long answers, at least do these two. First, the short answers, all short answers, and then application oriented answers, followed by solving all the past ICI papers. If you see in case of numericals, only the numbers are changed. They ask the students to calculate the equilibrium national income. They ask the students to find out the investment multiplier. The numbers keep on changing, but the pattern more or less remains the same. So it's a very good idea to solve the past papers. So this is, I think, these are certain tips which students should keep in mind.
That was very precious information for them, sir. I hope all the students must have noted, and the suggestion to draw that diagram and solve these short questions and apply as a application based question would certainly help them. So can you also guide us about the frequently asked questions from each of the units so that they could prepare even better for their exams?
Yes, I think this is going to be the highlight of this entire talk show. See, we have
Okay.
worked hard. सारे पास के क्वेश्चन पेपर्स इकट्ठा करके हम लोग बैठे थे, and we have picked up certain topics which are very frequently asked in the exam. So you can consider them as important subtopics, but as this is an intermediate exam, they should prepare everything. Now see, this is the first unit of first chapter. In this unit, the students should prepare the difference between GDP and GNP, followed by difference between the GDP at current prices and constant prices, which is also known as nominal GDP and real GDP. Then the students should study the difference between GDP at factor cost and GDP at market price. And finally, from this unit, they should study the methods of calculating the national income. So there are 3 different methods: the income method, the expenditure method, and the value added or the production method. Similarly, from the second unit, just a second. Yeah, from the second unit of the same chapter, students should learn how to compute the equilibrium output or income. They must be able to calculate the multiplier with the given marginal propensity to consume. They must be able to calculate the MPC and MPS, that is marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save, given the changes in income and consumption. They must be able to calculate the marginal propensity to consume given the multiplier. And finally, they should know the circular flow of income, injections as well as the leakages. The next is chapter number 2. From the first unit of this chapter, the student should study the meaning and types of the market failure, followed by reasons for market failure and the ways to correct it, and finally, the role of government as described by Richard Musgrave. The next unit of the second chapter, various types of externalities, difference between public and private goods, tragedy of commons, quasi-public goods, global public goods, adverse selection, moral hazards, and finally, information asymmetry or information failure. In the third unit, these are some of the important topics. The government intervention to correct the market failure occurring due to externalities, occurring due to market power, occurring due to public goods, merit and demerit goods, information failure, and finally, they should know the difference between the social cost and the private cost. In the fourth unit, they should begin with the meaning and objectives of fiscal policy, the working of expansionary fiscal policy and contractionary fiscal policy using the diagrams, then fiscal policy for reducing income inequalities. This is an important topic, redistribution function of the fiscal policy, the difference between two types of public expenditures, pump priming and the compensatory spending, and finally, the crowding out effect. The next is the third chapter. In the third chapter, in the first unit, these are some of the important subtopics: the functions of money, the four functions, followed by the quantity theory of money, also known as the equation of exchange, then the Cambridge approach, the cash balance transaction, the cash balance approach, the Keynesian theory of demand for money, and finally the inventory approach, which is also known as Baumol-Tobin approach. Chapter number 3, the second unit, the money multiplier approach to the supply of money, the concept of credit multiplier, the meaning, formula and calculation of reserve money, and finally the determinants of money supply. Tisra unit from the third chapter, monetary transmission mechanism, which is also known as operational procedure of monetary policy. So there are different mechanisms through which the change in the monetary policy affects the aggregate demand. So they should study that. Instruments of monetary policy like CRR, SLR, etc. Then the liquidity adjustment facility, marginal standing facility, and finally the market stabilization scheme. So these are certain points which should be covered from the third chapter. The next is the fourth chapter. In the first unit, they should study Ricardo's theory of international trade, also known as the comparative cost difference theory, followed by Haberler's opportunity cost theory, and finally the Heckscher-Ohlin theory of international trade, which is also called the factor endowment theory. In the second unit, the student should study different types of tariffs, then different types of non-tariff barriers, and finally the export related measures. So these are three important points from the second unit of the fourth chapter. The next is different types of regional trade agreements, limitations of the general agreement on trade and tariff, objectives and functions of WTO, the guiding principles of WTO, and an overview of the WTO agreements. The fourth unit, that is on exchange rates. The first important topic is advantages and disadvantages of fixed exchange rates, advantages and disadvantages of flexible exchange rates, the effect of depreciation and devaluation on the economy, the effect of appreciation and revaluation on the economy. And finally, in the fifth unit of the fourth chapter, the students should study the difference between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment, both advantages as well as disadvantages of the foreign direct investment, the deterrents of FDI, that means the factors which discourage FDI in a particular country, then the reasons for foreign direct investment, and finally the different modes of FDI. So these are the important topics which the students should actually study before they go for the examination.
That would certainly help a lot of students, sir. Sir, there is one more question which is obviously having an impact over the mind of all of the students. Whatever I have been in contact with, most of them are usually asking the same thing again, that what sort of language they should use in the paper. Means kind of, can we say it is advisable to use the ICA module language, or should it be said that a student can write a language of his own to express what he knows? So what is your suggestion on this topic?
Now, see, there is no such rule that students should write the ICI language only. Right? So, what I would recommend is that as far as possible, okay, the ideal method of preparation is that you should try to understand a particular topic or concept, okay, whatever you call it. So, understand the topic well and then try to express it in your own language. See, because there are 14 units, in one unit there are around 15 to 20 pages. So just imagine how much content is there in the ICI module, and it is practically impossible to mug up everything. Of course, the students can learn some of the key terminologies, some technical jargons, but as far as possible, they should try to write the answers in their own language. Now, sometimes these students come to me and they tell me, they show me their answer sheet. They have given the test at Navkar, they show me the answer sheet, and then they tell me that, see सर, हमने खुद की लैंग्वेज में लिखा है, आप सजेस्ट करते हो, तो मैंने खुद की लैंग्वेज में लिखा तो मेरे को कम मार्क्स आए. तो आफ्टर रीडिंग द आंसर आई हैव टू टेल हिम कि भाई तेरे को कम मार्क्स इसलिए नहीं आए क्योंकि तूने तेरी लैंग्वेज में लिखा है, तूने तेरी लैंग्वेज में गलत लिखा है, इसलिए तेरे को कम मार्क्स आए. So they think that since they have not written the ICI language, that's the reason that they are getting less marks. But actually that is not correct. Okay. So the real purpose will not be served if they try to mug up the answers. Just imagine how much stress they will have on the day of the exam if they have decided that I am going to use only the ICI language. इससे अच्छा अगर आपने समझ लिया है, you have understood the concept well, and on the day of the exam you have to go and write it in your own words. Okay. So if the answer is correct, I am sure that you are going to get good marks out of it. So that's about which type of language they should use.
That was very helpful. So this is one of the major question what I think the students would be required to hear, and that was good talking to you about the about this subject. To sum it up, from the experts comment and the advices given by Dr. Deshpande, I believe as per him it is very important to take the notes of the classrooms very clearly, to be 100% attentive, and then after to read all the past papers and the suggested answers, the RTPs given, and solve the exercise, basically the short questions and the applied application based questions, because they are most asked into exams. Talking about the frequently asked question, the major topics given by sir are very useful. Take a note of it. And lastly, when it comes to the language you want to write in, the necessitated part is to write the right things and not unnecessary things. Let the answer be less of meaningless words. Use the more jargons and write in your own language. That would be good to get good marks. We hope you must have enjoyed this talk show and have learned a lot from us. And we hope that in case of any doubts, you would be contacting us anytime. We would be happy to help. That was very generous of you, sir, that you spared time with us and tried to show some light to the students over the subject. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you so much. I wish the students all the best. Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, sir. Thank you, sir.
If you like this video, share it with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more such videos and learn from our expert faculty members. Press the bell icon to get regular notifications whenever we upload a new video. Download NDI mobile app to get complete CA course online. We value your support. Thank you for watching.